This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live, where I think a cat is throwing up on my couch at this moment. I think you can see Smokey looking at him. Justin also feels like he's going to throw up at any time, so once again, gonna do my best to get through this, but don't be surprised. This is another short one. Justin is sick as fuck. I've barely eaten in 2 days. I've pretty much, yep, there's Maynard. I think he's just walking away from his pile of vomit over there. Justin is not impressed with Maynard's vomit behind his couch. I'm not good. I'm sorry. I probably would have skipped out on the show if it wasn't for the fact that I really like the Indigenous people's graphics. I like the Troll Patrol logo with the no Columbus in the middle. Well, I have Warlord's permission, so I'm just gonna go lay on the couch. Fox tried to take over the show. I don't know if you... you should slide in. You should take over the show. Fox tried to. Flash, Sparkles, Warlord, DJ Dub, Clinically. Dustin, go get you some snacks. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day to you all. I got off of here last night, and I had, like, cold sweats. I took a shower and went straight to bed, but then could not sleep because my shoulder hurt. Had to get up and eat something because I was so hungry. I had to force myself to eat some rice that I'd made the other day, some rice and broccoli. We'll get into the Columbus. UD fired their CEO. I'm always down for CEOs being fired. Snicks, good evening. Snicks, also often known as Sunshine, because she brings sunshine to my life every time she appears in chat. Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Here is your meme of the day. Everybody hates Chris. To be honest, I'm probably like, I thought I had like a whole nother eighth of marijuana left on Friday evening. I go to grind some up, and I had none. I had none left because my stupid stoner ass didn't really keep good track of how much he had left. Thought I was going to be able to make it till midweek. Venus. That's probably what it is. I am probably detoxing off of marijuana. You will detox off of any substance. It's not like Purgatorus, good evening. It's not like, I'm detoxing off of heroin. It's upset stomach and a little bit of a headache. Like it's not that big of a deal, but like still, I feel crappy. On top of my shoulder hurting. Like I'm sorry, I'm bitching, and you guys didn't come here to hear bitching. You came to hear the fucking news. My apologies. But if, we get an hour into this and I'm like, hey, I can't take it anymore. Good night. That's the reason why. Let's do some news. Most of this is actually the shit that I had last night, with some updates on Israel and, of course, you know, the mocking of Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm sorry, the mocking of Columbus Day. And the people who think it should still be... We're not mocking Indigenous Peoples Day. We're celebrating Columbus Day. I mean, if you want me to just bitch the whole time, I can. Tones, good evening. I love you guys so much. That's why, like, I had to, you know, at least come on for a little bit. It makes me feel better. I thought he said Macaroni Plaza in Philadelphia. My God. Benny Johnson over here. You can't see the subtitle. I'm pretty sure. I thought it said Macaroni Plaza, but it's Marconi Plaza. So, our good friend Benny Johnson telling us about how the Columbus statue BLM could not tear down.
Welcome to Marconi Plaza in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Behind me is a statue of Christopher Columbus.
Marconi is in the inventor of the radio.
This is a historic statue, not just because Christopher Columbus is super based and awesome and founded America, but also because it's the only...
Columbus did not found America. It's going to be impossible for me to fact check this whole thing, but that's stupid.
only statue that BLM and Antifa was not allowed to tear down. This is the only statue in America that was protected by the Italians in this neighborhood here in South Philadelphia. On the night of June 14th, BLM and Antifa members organized in order to come here and tear the statue down. Why? Because white people bad, because Christianity bad, because discovering America bad. But they were stopped, leading to the greatest viral...
They didn't discover America. It was here. It was populated. Mitochondria, the powerhouse of the chat. I'm gonna run that joke into the ground. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance.
Moment in the entire BLM Antifa riot history.
My business card, sir, if there's a problem.
Are you embarrassed? You're embarrassed. You're embarrassment. You're an embarrassment.
So what do you think about how Christopher Columbus cut off the hands of people who didn't bring him enough gold?
Dude, they were savages back then. They all...
This guy just hit me in the head. Sir, can I have my bike back?
You can have it.
Sir, let me have my bicycle.
You can have it over there. Get on it. You want to talk? Get the...
So let me get. This guy is upset about the property rights of the Columbus statue, but grabs the dude's bike.
out of here. Get that... Get that... Get that...
No, Ryan.
Slashed his tires.
Please go.
He discovered America is what he did. He was a brave Italian explorer, and in this house, Christopher Columbus is a hero. End of story.
We asked our buddy Sam Orpizza, a Philadelphia native, developer, politician, and freedom fighter himself, who had lived through this moment of chaos inside of Philly, to come down and meet us
Bicycle.
and tell us what it was like.
The police were obviously here, and again, the police are spread thin throughout Philadelphia, so they were taking people from other police districts and kind of putting them here to stop the crowd. It was getting ugly, and fights broke out. It was an effort from the neighborhood, the South Philly Italians, that stuck together and said, we're not going to be discriminated against, and you're not taking down our statues, and they obviously won.
Sam explained the interesting relationship between the police and the local Italian fathers, people who he lovingly refers to as the Gravy Seals. There wasn't any police, though, really, that night. It was it was locals.
Yeah. No,
It was like your local Italian dad.
Yeah.
That was standing out
the
here.
Gravy Seals, the Gravy Seals.
The Gravy Seals, okay. With a baseball bat saying, you're not going to touch this.
And the stereotypical Italian music in the background.
I think most people wish that they had a bunch of Italian dads in their neighborhoods during those riots, because there were a lot of statues that did come down. In Baltimore, they took one down.
No, I want an Italian grandmother to come to my neighborhood and make me some spaghetti. Show me how to make some real fucking pasta sauce, motherfuckers.
This statue is it represents an ethnic group here in Philadelphia. I mean, for you to legally be allowed to discriminate on an ethnic group, to me, is just absolutely.
Wait, what?
Christopher Columbus is, of course, an icon for Christendom and Western civilization. How much of this attack was an attack
Ray, good evening.
on religion, Christianity specifically?
When you see the messaging going on nowadays, you're definitely seeing an anti-Christian message. And I've said before, I'll say it again, Philadelphia has the highest poverty rate out of every major city. And these kids are growing up without God in their life, without knowing there's a higher power that loves them and wants to see them succeed and not make bad decisions. So I see that every day. I really do. And it is something that I believe we should, as a city, work on. You know what I mean, right? Yeah. Like teaching people to love one another, care about each other, not discriminate against each other, not...
Let's love one another by honoring a murderous, genocidal pirate. That's what he was. He was a pirate. He was a pirate, a genocidal pirate.
Promote this, and we could do it, but the powers that be choose the latter. They choose to find things like this and make this their fight to cover the statue up. And these orders were sent from the mayor's office, too, which is absolutely absurd.
After the clashes at the statue, the city of Philadelphia decided to cover up Christopher Columbus, literally put a box around
with an Italian box.
The very image of the man who discovered America and brought Christianity to the New World was so offensive that he mustn't be seen from the street.
They couldn't tear it down, so they covered it, and they left it covered for a long time. There was attorneys, there was lawyers involved, there was a lot of money paid that could have went to the children of Philadelphia, that could have went to underserved neighborhoods, but instead
you don't care about children or underserved neighborhoods.
Columbus statue or not.
As with every battle in the culture war, the fight for the Columbus statue here in Philadelphia represented something much bigger than just a hunk of marble in this Italian neighborhood. It represented what culture we wish to live in, the rules that we wish to respect in our society. And it represented us finally standing up and drawing a line and saying, no more destruction.
What's the future for this statue?
The rules.
Yeah.
Still, you know, and welcome all ethnic groups to the city of Philadelphia. Sure. And if you want to display something that makes your community proud and happy, yeah, put it up in Philadelphia, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're not going to tear down someone else's.
That's right.
You can find the Columbus statue proudly displayed today in Marconi Plaza in Philadelphia. We encourage you to go have a look yourself. This statue is now more than just a testament to the brave new world.
It should be replaced with a statue of, like, Charlie Kelly from It's Sunny in Philadelphia. There's a real Philly hero
that Columbus discovered. It's a testament to what can happen when you stand up for your principles and fight. You can defeat the mob. All it takes is a few good men. Happy Columbus Day.
What's going on, Facebook? It's your...
And he was talking about rules as he showed a guy destroy someone else's property. Wild. These fucking hypocrites over here. By the way, since we're talking about Columbus statues, Christopher Columbus discovers the sidewalk, circa 2020, colorized. Love that one. Love that one. Middle of the pandemic, the stupid ass cop. The stupid ass cop doesn't have a mask on. You think he's still alive? Is he one of the many COVID deniers that have passed away and are no longer with us? Perhaps he's joined the ranks of other good cops. Fitting that on this Indigenous Peoples Day, they put a content warning on this video. I guess I also should give a content warning. Fitting that on this Indigenous Peoples Day, where we're talking a lot about colonizers and oppression, Israel has ordered a full siege of Gaza as the death toll continues to rise.
Unrelenting airstrikes. Israeli ministers ordering a complete siege of the Gaza Strip in the wake of a weekend surprise offensive by Hamas, the deadliest attack on Israel in 50 years.
Hamas the Daesh.
EB girl, good evening.
Is the ISIS, and we will beat it just like the Western world has beaten ISIS.
A spokesman for the military wing of the Palestinian militant group now issuing this threat. Every hour, Hamas will kill one Israeli hostage for every civilian house bombed without warning. More than 1,200 have died in the fighting.
Jesus.
The victims, civilians. The State Department confirming Americans are among the casualties, with other U.S. citizens.
I think I heard at least 9 Americans.
There are reports of Americans who are unaccounted for. We continue to work to confirm that number and to try to locate those who are missing.
As the fighting escalates,
I am on constant communication with President Biden.
The U.S. carrier strike group is now moving into the region.
We will continue to get Israel the military aid and military assistance it needs.
Though a full-scale response likely won't come until Congress is back in session and a speaker is elected in the House. The man just voted.
Venus, do you really expect a man with the screen name Warlord to bring peace? Warlord brings chaos everywhere he goes, especially in this chat.
Out of that job, demanding swift action from the White House to protect U.S. citizens caught up in the violence.
This administration must also make clear that harming any American will result in the wrath of the United States.
Now we're going to get involved in this?
The fighting intensifies. Jay Gray, NBC News.
Jesus fucking Christ. NBC News. He mentioned NBC News. Let's talk about NBC News. NBC News reporter was on the ground in Israel earlier today. While he was doing a live hit, had to actually take cover. This is Richard Engel, NBC News war correspondent on the ground in Israel.
Stay down, stay down. Nico. Keep rolling. So these seem to be mortars. They are coming in very close. Keep it. Seconds are in the vehicle and off, yeah? One.
I agree with that, Flash. I'm not exactly sure what part of Israel they are in.
We're going to wait for a moment here.
Are they actually in Gaza?
Nico.
Are they in a part of Israel? And this is Hamas rockets.
Guys, do you guys hear me on MS?
And we're going to jump into that package because Richard Engel is live with us now. And Richard, you're there near the border. What's happening?
All right, Nico.
Near the border with Gaza.
Well, I can tell you right now, we are in the town of Sderot, and there has been a lot of incoming fire here. We believe that it is mortar fire. Some of them also appear to have been rockets. They've been coming in quite close. That is why we are on the ground right now. This is still considered a very active combat zone, even though we are inside Israeli territory. And it is not just the incoming rockets and mortars. There are also reports from Israeli officials of new infiltrations, of Hamas sending more fighters through breaches in the border fence. According to a senior Israeli official, there are about 30 different holes, breaches in that border perimeter, and most of them have been plugged up. Around 90% of them have been plugged up, but 10% remain. They're trying to secure them, but remain open. So This is still an active situation here. Most of the residents in this area have been cleared out, and the Israelis are trying to move people away from border towns and communities, and to try and also look for Hamas fighters, because they believe that cells, sleeper cells, or other fighters have infiltrated and are still in the area, potentially hiding in some of the buildings. And now maybe it seems like that big barrage that we just experienced has passed. They come in waves, but this one was practically right on top of us, right here in Sderot.
Richard, if any moment you and your crew need to move to get to safety, please do so.
No, stay there. Shut up, Lester.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news.
Richard Engel is a good reporter, and I appreciate him putting his life on the line like that. I wouldn't mind going and being like a war correspondent. I would totally be into that. So there's your Western corporate media and their take on what's going on. Let's hear from independent leftist media. Take it away, Amy Goodman.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israel's ordered a complete siege of Gaza after Hamas fighters broke out of the blockaded Gaza Strip Saturday, carried out an unprecedented attack by air, land, and sea on Israel. Over the past 3 days, at least 1,300 people have died, including over 800 inside Israel, over 500 in Gaza. We've been to Gaza and Jerusalem. Now we're joined here in New York by Rashid Khalidi, Edward Said, professor of modern Arab studies at
Oh my God, Twitter is horrendous.
Including the 100 Years' War on Palestine. Professor Khalidi, thank you for being with us as you listen to voices of Orly Noy in Jerusalem, of Raji Sourani, the human rights lawyer in Gaza, the attack we heard on air live, and Ofer Kassif, the Knesset member of Israel. Can you respond to what has taken place and what it looks like is about to take place? Israeli military equipment and tanks are headed down to Gaza now.
I'm afraid that the horrific casualties among civilians, Israelis and increasingly Palestinians, is just the beginning of what's going to be a awful, awful, awful massacre in Gaza. The desire for revenge after the killing of a very large number, hundreds apparently, of innocent Israeli civilians, is going to lead to a horrific massacre in Gaza of probably many, many more people than we can imagine. And I agree with what Raji said, of course, my friend Raji, who I hope is okay. And I agree with what Orly said and with what Ofer Kassif said. War crimes don't justify other war crimes. And we are about to see horrific.
Hey, good evening. Did I tell you good evening already?
There are two things that have to be added. This has
also, as I was trying to sleep last night, it dawned on me, Richard, I don't think I ever told you good evening last night, and I apologize for that.
Be put within the context. And the context is not just occupation. The context is settler colonialism and apartheid. The people of Gaza, the refugees in Gaza.
God, this video is
in the areas
heartbreaking
where Hamas fighters were attacking in the last couple of days. Those were Palestinian towns and villages in 1948. The ethnic cleansing of Palestine led to the cooping up of what are now 2.4 million people in Gaza. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day in the United States.
And I want to bring up something. I saw this earlier. This was a WFAA, a local news station in the U.S. The Israeli-Hamas conflict, a look at the 2 centuries of bloody history. This video is 1:17 long. 1:17. A look at 2 centuries of bloody history in 1:17? Are you killing me? Or are you killing me? Are you kidding me? You can't even set up the whole fall of the Ottoman Empire in 1:17. Let alone the bullshit coming out of World War II.
These are the indigenous people of the southern parts of Israel that the Hamas fighters were attacking over the past few days. That's the first thing. The second thing is I think that we're about to see a paradigm shift. The idea that you can coop up 5 million people, put them behind walls, tighten the siege on them, use an eyedropper to allow them some food, some water, some electricity. That idea has exploded as a result of the horrific events of the past 2.5 days. This cannot continue. It's not just a matter of occupation. We have to recognize that you cannot treat an entire people the way Israel, not just under this neo-fascist government, but under all of its previous governments, have treated them. You cannot expel 750,000 people in 1948 and not expect the return of the repressed. You cannot commit daily violence against Palestinians. One Palestinian has died every day this year, in fact, slightly more, in the occupied West Bank. You cannot expect...
Journalists, children, doctors.
The reaction will be violent. The reaction sometimes may include things that are unquestionably war crimes. But that kind of pressure put on an entire people over 3/4 of a century will necessarily, inevitably bring a violent reaction. And this pressure cooker that the Palestinians are in, which the Hamas military commander listed, he said what they're doing in Jerusalem, trying to take over the Al-Aqsa Mosque and turn it into a site of Jewish prayer. What they are doing in the occupied West Bank in terms of the effective annexation of more and more Palestinian land to Israel and the application of Israeli law to Israelis and military law to Palestinians. Apartheid, 2 legal systems in one place. The imprisonment of 5,000 Palestinians and the administrative detention of hundreds. And finally, the siege of Gaza. When Gallant, Yoav Gallant, the Minister of Defense, announced that he was cutting off fuel, food, water, and electricity to Gaza, he called the Gazans human animals. That's 2.4 million people who are being treated as if they are animals. They're not Hamas fighters.
That's a body bag that looked like a child.
Hamas is one thing. Hamas has imposed itself on the people of Gaza. The people of Gaza are the ones who are going to suffer. As in every one of these wars, almost all of the casualties are going to be civilians.
Now, Hamas has not only imposed itself on the people of Palestine, it has been, much like the Hillary Clinton campaign did with Donald Trump, it's been propped up by the Israeli government. Let me find you the quote from Netanyahu from a couple of years back.
That Israel has waged on Gaza. This will be the 5th or the 6th attack on Gaza. And I'm very, very afraid that Raji is right. We are going to see unparalleled massacres. But I think we have to see that this maybe be the end of an era when people in Washington and people in Arab capitals assumed you could just fly over Palestine, ignore it, and pretend that we're in a new Middle East of peace while an entire people is...
This goes back to me talking last night about wagging the dog. Reading from the Times of Israel, for years, Netanyahu propped up Hamas. Now it's blown up in our faces. They've propped up Hamas in order to let them run wild to justify their crackdown on the Palestinian civilians. The premier's policy of treating the terror group as a partner It is the Times of Israel, at the expense of Abbas and the Palestinian statehood, has resulted in wounds that will take Israel years to heal from. For years, the various governments led by Benjamin Netanyahu took an approach that divided power between the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, bringing Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas to his knees while making moves that propped up the Hamas terror group. The idea was to prevent Abbas or anyone else in the Palestinian Authority's West Bank government from advancing toward the establishment of a Palestinian state. And that's what Netanyahu's aim was.
Living under this kind of incredible oppression in a pressure cooker. It had to explode.
And talk about what's happening now. You have the Republicans attacking Biden, saying that it's his support for Iran making that $6 billion deal, unfreezing Iranian assets, that has allowed this to happen. The Wall Street Journal saying Iran is behind this. The White House pushing back. Blinken saying they don't have the evidence at this point. What this means, and also Hezbollah on the border of Lebanon and the incursion this weekend as well.
Well, I mean, the possibility of a wider conflict should terrify everybody. And instead of moving aircraft carriers, the United States should be trying to defuse the situation. Instead, I think they're blindly going ahead with the policies that they have followed in the past. You do not send presents, as President Biden has done.
Well, now, Richard, there is reporting stating that Iran was the one who had intelligence that allowed Hamas to be able to penetrate Israel, and that they may have gotten that intelligence from Russia, who got it from Donald Trump. I think that's possible. I wouldn't call that blaming Russia, though. I don't know what the Rachel Maddow libs are saying about it, but like that part is absolutely feasible.
To an apartheid government that is moving towards basically destroying the protections of the Israeli Constitution for Israeli Jews and annexing the West Bank. And that's what this administration has been doing. That's what previous administrations have done. We finance this occupation. We finance this violence. They're American weapons.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It was the Wall Street Journal. You're correct.
To kill innocent civilians in violation of U.S. law. And American politicians blithely talk as if they live on another planet. I think, though, that the ground has shifted. And even though American politicians live in Never Never Land,
Flash, I had not heard that, but Hamas said Iran helped them. If I'm Richard, like I was listening to Tom Hartman last night as I was trying to go to sleep, and there was several things he said, like, man, what is wrong with you, Tom? Especially like his defense of Biden and the border wall was absurd to me. I'm like, Tom, what the fuck happened to you?
As far as Palestine is concerned, reality is going to intrude itself sooner or later. There is a widespread revulsion across the Arab world against what Israel does in Palestine. Authoritarian, dictatorial, absolute monarchies are trying to ignore that, ignore the feelings of their own people, the sentiments of their own people. That's not going to work. You cannot make peace over the bodies of Palestinians. That's not peace. That is the peace of the dead.
It's not an official statement from Hamas saying Iran helped.
Day in, day out. Theft of land, expansion of settlements, and so on. Necessarily, inevitably, is going to bring a reaction. So whether the people living in Washington, D.C. and in their own alternative reality believe it today or tomorrow, sooner or later, I think that reality is going to dawn. You cannot do this for forever.
The National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, just 10 days ago said, it has been very quiet.
Yeah, right-wingers shared that clip around today.
To other areas of the world. Very quiet, he said. And I'm wondering if you can comment on that. And do you think what led to this attack by Hamas fighters on Saturday had anything to do with Saudi Arabia and Israel normalizing relations at the behest of the United States?
I don't doubt that that was a factor. I think the basic factor was that people couldn't live under these circumstances. And Hamas has basically acted in a way involving enormous brutality against civilians, things that are unquestionably war crimes. But it has acted in a way to shatter that whole paradigm. I think people are thinking very carefully in places that have normalized with Israel. The other thing that should be said, I think Orly mentioned this, this is a massive intelligence failure on the part of American intelligence, and especially on the part of the Israeli intelligence services. They had absolutely no idea this was coming. They transferred 3 battalions from the Gaza front to the West Bank to protect settler rampages against Palestinians, denuding the towns on the southern borders of the Gaza Strip of the people who could have defended against the attack by Hamas. This was one of the great deception operations in modern military history, and people are going to teach this. Leaving aside the war crimes, they're going to teach this in military academies for years and years to come. This is on level with the 1973 war in terms of deception, and an entirely mistaken concept on the part of Israelis, thinking that you could do this to Gaza forever and that they would just lie down and take it.
And Rashid
Thinking that you can do
Khalidi,
it. Sorry.
this news just came out from Times of Israel, also from the Associated Press. Egyptian intelligence repeatedly told Israel Hamas was planning something big. Warnings were discounted. This, according to an intelligence official.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Your thoughts on this in the last 30 seconds?
It's very similar to what happened before the 1973 war, when Israel was getting intelligence that the Egyptian and Syrian armies were planning.
Very similar to what happened before 9/11, when the Bush administration ignored repeated warnings about Al-Qaeda wanting to attack inside the United States.
A major attack. And the conception, the conceptia in Hebrew, that these people would never do such a thing. They're not capable of this. The arrogance that was involved in ignoring those intelligence reports in 1973 and in 2023 are among the things that led to this catastrophic outcome, which I think is going to change a lot of things in the Middle East in the months and years to come.
Rashid Khalidi, want to thank you for being with us. Edward Said, professor of modern Arab studies at Columbia University. His latest book, The 100 Years' War on Palestine.
Of course, it's a book plug, but I think that's probably a pretty decent book, if I had to guess. This is going to be the top story for many, many days, possibly weeks to come. I don't know that Bush let it happen. I think they may have been arrogant. Like, I want to believe that, you know, the Bush administration, there's a hell of a lot of ghouls in the Bush administration, though. From Bremer, Wolfowitz, Rumsfeld, I could definitely see them wanting to let it happen. Being a president, come to the U.S. presidential race in 2024. Big news today. No longer in the Democratic primary, now running as an independent, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Johnny, Robert Kennedy Jr. spoke to hundreds on the lawn in front of the Constitution Center today, some who traveled for hours to see him. Now, in this crowd, I met Democrats, a Republican, a Green Party voter, and those who'd voted for Donald Trump and President Joe Biden, now here to see Robert Kennedy. The impact of their votes potentially going to him, unclear in terms of what it means for Kennedy and for other candidates.
Are we ready to win?
Robert Kennedy Jr. today saying he's declaring his independence and urging voters to join him.
American democracy should be more than just picking between two candidates anointed by shadowy institutions.
He has a famous last name associated for decades with Democratic politics, but is dropping a bid in the Democratic Party to run as an independent. His launch started with a technical hiccup as he was introduced today,
I need my speech.
but got back on track to his political pitch.
Did Elon put this together?
Angry at being left out, left behind, swindled, cheated, and belittled by a smug elite that has rigged the system in its favor.
Kennedy, also a controversial figure. FactCheck.org called him a prominent anti-vaccine advocate who promotes conspiracy theories. Today, attracting supporters with a...
And one of the things that, and I believe he has some sort of medical issue. I'm not sure that he was a smoker or anything, so I don't really want to mock his voice. The thing that upsets me about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is that he's married to Cheryl from Curb Your Enthusiasm. The actress who plays Cheryl, God, I don't remember her real name. Cheryl David on the show. But Cheryl, what's her? I don't remember her real name, but he's married to her. The woman that dated Joey Gladstone on Full House and made fun of the whole family in her stand-up comedy routine. I fucking love her. I can't believe she's married to this crackpot.
Range of political backgrounds.
He's the guy who, for me, can take down Big Pharma and their coupling with all the regulatory agencies, the CDC, the FDA, the WHO. We can't trust them anymore.
I mean, we need alternatives on both sides.
Right now, it's a toss-up. I'm definitely leaning more towards Kennedy. I think he has an authentic.
Kennedy or who?
But I took Trump the first time around.
Bill Schmidt from South Jersey, now with a decision ahead. Trump has some competition.
Carol Hines, yes, that's it.
Yeah, he definitely has competition for this next election.
Duke Newsom with a suggestion.
Let's stop thinking left or right. Trump Kennedy is the ticket.
The RNC.
See, and I bet this other dude, I bet he's leaning between Kennedy and Trump. I think this is good for Biden, and apparently the Trump campaign is incredibly worried about Kennedy running as an independent. Bannon backed him in the Democratic primary and has been advising him. Surely he would know that this would hurt Trump, so...
Some competition in your mind.
Absolutely, yeah. He definitely has competition for this next election.
Duke Newsom with a suggestion.
Let's stop thinking left or right. Trump Kennedy is the ticket.
The RNC reacting today to Kennedy's announcement, saying in part, quote, "Make no mistake, a Democrat in independence clothing is still a Democrat," unquote. Some of Kennedy's siblings calling his decision dangerous and saying, quote, "Bobby might share the same name as our father, but he does not share the same values, vision, or judgment," unquote.
Now, I have not heard yet today from...
So all the rest of the Kennedys are condemning him.
...decision by Kennedy not to run as a Democrat. I did reach out to them, but have not yet heard back. Johnny, back to you.
All right, fair.
I think the Democratic Party is totally for him running as an independent. I don't think it siphons votes from Biden. I don't think anybody who would seriously vote for Kennedy would vote for Biden in the first place. But who knows? There are voters who voted for Bernie in 2016 and voted for Trump in 2020. So I don't know how you do that. I'm still sticking to Trump will pick Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's his running mate. I think she checks all the boxes that he needs. I wouldn't doubt that he announces a running mate before the end of the year, beginning of next year. I don't think he would pick Boebert. Marjorie Taylor Greene is from Georgia. He has to win Georgia to win the election. He probably wants a woman or a black person. He wants some sort of virtue signaling token. That's true, Venus. That's true. Trump co-opted a lot of Bernie's talking points. Greene is a more pronounced Putin supporter as well. I mean, I kind of understand the whole, we want to fuck up the system, but Bernie actually had plans. Trump was, just an agent of chaos that wants to basically destroy the government. Something that might destroy the government before we even get a second Trump presidency is the Supreme Court. Court actually seems likely to side with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I kind of find odd. The Supreme Court on Tuesday, this was Tuesday of last week, seemed likely to preserve the work of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau against a conservative-led challenge. Even some conservative justices sounded skeptical of arguments that the agency created after the 2008 financial crisis to regulate mortgages, car loans, and other consumer finance violates the Constitution in the way it is funded. The CFPB case is one of several major challenges to federal regulatory agencies on the docket this term for a court that has more than a decade been open to limits on their operations. The CFPB, the brainchild of Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, has long been opposed by Republicans and their financial backers. But a majority of the court appeared ready to reject the sweeping arguments made by the lawyers for payday lenders whose challenge to a CFPB rule spawned the Supreme Court case. A ruling for the agency would quiet concerns about the validity of the CFPB's actions since its creation. Now, should the court rule against the CFPB, this could have insane reverberating effects, including possibly taking out Social Security. So I'm happy that it seems like they're going to side with the CFPB. Let's listen to some of the oral arguments. This is Kagan and Sotomayor going back and forth.
It does seem to me that your argument is essentially that what the Appropriations Clause demands is annual line item appropriations, that's the not just the paradigm appropriation, but the only constitutionally valid kind of appropriations, and that any deviation from that needs some special justification, or maybe is just like unconstitutional per se. I'm not exactly sure what the argument is. But the history of our country just rejects that scheme. I mean, that might have been a way to understand what the framers were doing. But it turns out that from the very first year, that's not what they were doing. That's not what they did. Annual line item appropriations were some appropriations, but massively not all appropriations. And so you're just flying in the face of 250 years of history.
And respectfully, Your Honor, that's not my argument. I think that the lack of durational limits here is what makes this particularly problematic, but it's particularly problematic when you combine that with a delegation to an executive branch agency to pick its own appropriation, subject only to a limit that's so high it's almost never relevant. If you can do that here, you can go agency by agency by agency and simply say, spend whatever you think reasonably appropriate as long as you don't hit $10 billion. And while
I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand your argument and I'm at a total loss.
I'll try to do that.
Okay, I think I understand it the way Justice Kagan does, but you're telling me it's something different. From the very beginning, Congress gave sometimes a lump sum and said to an agency, you can spend this amount, but didn't do a line by line on what or how much, and the agency would decide how much of that sum it needed. Over 60% of the appropriations, I think it may be
the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau,
are of standing appropriations. They're not given every year.
The guy you hear is a lawyer for payday lenders. He is arguing that the funding mechanism for the CFPB is unconstitutional.
And some of them are fixed and some of them are not. Some are, whatever you need to run your agency, including from the very beginning in 1789, the Customs Service. So I don't understand.
I would love a line of Coke right now. It would probably make me feel way better.
Unless you're saying standing appropriations are wrong, tell me why they're wrong. If they're not wrong, tell me when they're right.
I was on crack.
Tell me how much detail they go into. And why is a cap different than a standing appropriation for a certain amount? Since we can't force anybody to spend as much money as you give, and routinely, lots of agencies return money, including this one, the court. So either, I don't know what you want.
So the first thing, Your Honor, is I would like to address the Customs Service, because my understanding of it is not the same as my friend's understanding of it. As I understood the Customs Service at the time of the founding, it was actually funded through fees that it collected as part of the collection of customs, and Congress set those formulas. Congress determined what fees they could collect or what formula they could use to collect those fees, and in addition, it was supervised by the Department of the Treasury, which was itself subject to annual appropriations. So I don't think it was a standing appropriation. Now, it was a standing appropriation between 1849 and 1912. There was a $1.5 million standing appropriation, but two things about that. It was still subject to the supervision of the Secretary of the Treasury, and that turned out not to be enough. They had to generally go back for regular appropriations. Now,
Well, the reason why they set up its funding mechanism the way they did was so that Republicans in Congress couldn't defund it when they got power. So, smart on Democrats' part.
At least how I understand the history of the Customs Service. In terms of what the standard is, I think our frontline rule is at a minimum, Congress has to determine the amount. And the reason I'm focusing on the factors that I'm focusing on is because when you bring those factors together, you have really exploded any limitation at all. And I think it's enough to say that when you delegate to the executive the authority to pick its own number subject only to a cap that's so high it's rarely relevant, and if not perpetually, at least for a long period of time, you have uniquely brought together a set of factors that does allow Congress to essentially transfer its appropriations power to the executive branch for an indefinite period of time, and you just have to multiply that across the agencies to see why that's so dangerous.
It sure seems that, on your view, the Federal Reserve would also be unconstitutional. Why or why not?
No, Your Honor, for a couple of reasons. I think the main
I believe it was Kagan.
This court has suggested in seal of law, and is I think then Judge Kavanaugh suggested on the D.C. Circuit, the Federal Reserve is pretty much sui generis. I think it reflects the fact that at the time of the founding, the core functions of the Fed, controlling the money supply through open market transactions, weren't really considered governmental functions at all. That's why.
So there's also a governmental function component to
no,
the
Your
test?
Honor. I mean,
because
if
you
it's not
state a test and then a agency that clearly fails under that test, you say, oh, no, I don't mean that.
No, because for the Fed, remember, the first and second national banks were organized as private banks. To this day, the presidents of the private regional reserve banks sit on the Federal Open Markets Committee. And it's also why I think that if this court were ever to take the step of overturning Humphrey's executor, it likely wouldn't impact the for-cause removal restrictions on the board itself. And I think it does reflect that historical tradition in the Fed of it not really exercising governmental power.
Yeah, it's just too important and whatever. I mean, the FDIC, the OCC, they also fail your test.
No, the FTC, IC, and the OCC, I think, are well within the tradition of agencies that are limited to what they can collect from the people that they serve and regulate. But I think my more important point, Your Honor, is if you think
you're now adding a new thing to your
No,
test.
I'm not, Your Honor. What I'm saying is that if you think that those serve as the model for the CFPB, then it really is Katie bar the door. As my friend explained, those agencies don't even have a statutory cap. So if you think that that's what justifies the CFPB, then you truly could go agency by agency and simply say, spend whatever you want, full stop, period. We'll come back to you when we think we can override.
So that was some of the oral arguments about the CFPB funding taking place last week. Looks like the Supreme Court is going to side with the CFPB and say that their funding is constitutional. When is the end of the session? Is it before the end of the month the session wraps up? We should know here in the next couple of weeks. We'll get a slew of decisions right at the end of the Supreme Court session. And the CFPB is probably one of the most important ones. Let's do a few cop stories. Warlord, I'm going to do my best to get to the one that you've been wanting to watch, but we got several that are a little more pressing we got to do first. In Decatur, Alabama. Watch the body cam footage, or not the body cam footage. It was a neighbor's security cam that showed that the cops just opened fire on a Mr. Stephen Perkins within seconds of coming onto his property. The family demanding answers. The town in an uproar.
Begin tonight in Cortland, where today hundreds of people came together to say their final goodbyes to Steve Perkins. He's the man who was shot and killed in Decatur during an officer-involved shooting a little more than a week ago. WAFF 48's Daquan Lee joins us live from Cortland at Wheeler Chapel Church. And Daquan, leading up to today's funeral, Perkins' death has sparked several protests in and around Decatur.
Nolan, people are still demanding answers and transparency from law enforcement. However, today, friends, family, and supporters spent time celebrating Perkins' life. Now, as you can see on your screen, today dozens of cars lined up along Highway 72 for the funeral of 39-year-old Steve Perkins. There were plenty of emotional moments for those in attendance, both inside and outside the church. Over the past week, there have been peaceful demonstrations by Decatur residents demanding answers about the officer-involved shooting that ultimately cost Perkins his life. Bruce Jones, neighbor and friend of Perkins, says the peaceful demonstrations are necessary as we patiently await those details.
I know sometimes that process it seems like it's inevitable. It's never going to happen because of the emotions that we're feeling as a result of what happened, but we have to let the process take care of itself. And we have to be patient, and we have to make sure that we don't put ourselves in any legal binding situations as a result of our emotions and our actions because of what happened.
Now, following the funeral service here at Wheeler Chapel Church, friends and family members spent time at his gravesite before their burial. Reporting live in Cortland, DeQuan Lee, 48 on your side.
Hop on right in.
Warlord hitting us with some updated news here. Apparently several journalists were killed in an Israeli airstrike near Gaza City, according to Al Jazeera. Doesn't surprise me. Now back to cop death here in the U.S. No charges for the Georgia State Trooper who killed activists at the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center site. This is Tortuguita, who was killed. Apparently had his hands behind his back when he was shot, despite the fact that cops claimed he had a gun and fired shots at them. Apparently it was another cop. Special prosecutor will not charge the 6 Georgia State Patrol troopers who shot and killed an environmental protester at the proposed site for Cop City. Oh, we've got a piece on this. Let's
State
go.
troopers who shot and killed a protester where a police training facility.
Yes, there was no gun residue on his hands, proving that he did not fire a shot.
He will not face criminal charges. Good afternoon, and thanks so much for watching today. I'm Christine Spiro. The district attorney investigating the shooting, announcing his decision today. That has disappointed the family of Manuel Tehran, as well as other protesters who oppose the controversial Atlanta Police and Fire Training Center in DeKalb County. Fox 5's Angelique Proctor joins us now.
And apparently the majority of people in Atlanta oppose it.
Atlanta with more on reaction from the family. Angelique.
Good afternoon, Christine. Well, Manuel's family tells me not only are they frustrated, but they say they are very disappointed. They say this decision only rubber stamps the state's position all along. Now, we talked to Manuel's mother late this afternoon. She says the decision not to prosecute the 6 state troopers who killed her son is really no surprise. The district attorney for the Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit had been looking into the deadly shooting from January 18th of earlier this year. The report says Tehran refused to comply with commands to come out of the tent and that the protester fired 4 shots before 6 state troopers returned fire.
Nope, one of the other cops fired.
Now, Tehran's mother says the government report has no credibility. She wants all of the evidence in the case released.
The problem is everything is so covered. There is nothing really that we can believe and understand. So many stories, so many situations, opinions. So I don't believe until we have a real investigation.
Well, that's never going to happen, unfortunately.
Says they would like to see an independent investigation into this shooting. They have also filed suit against the city of Atlanta, and they are awaiting a judge's decision on that. We are live in Southeast Atlanta. Angelique Proctor, Fox 5 News.
All right, Angelique, thanks for that update.
Now, several of the cops had body cameras at the time, but none of the cops that shot Tortuguita had theirs on. Weird. Weird, don't you think? What a coinky-dink. The Asian community in Washington demanding answers for a video that we watched 2 or 3 weeks ago now, where the Seattle police were responding to a call, ran over a woman in the crosswalk, mocked her death on the radio.
Leaders and members of Seattle's Southeast Asian community say they are done sitting by and waiting for answers from Seattle police in the case where one SPD officer hit and killed a grad student and another was heard on video apparently mocking her death. Dozens of people gathered today at Denny Way Park to air their grievances, saying there's a lack of transparency from the department. And as Kyber 7's Brittany Toulis reports, people say they want to see accountability from SPD and consequences for the officers involved.
Just to get some answers that what is really happening. We're not an angry mob. We're just trying to understand what's happening.
Shareya Sharma echoing what many others at Denny Way Park have been thinking for weeks. Are officers Kevin Dave and Daniel Otterer facing any consequences after Dave hit and killed 23-year-old John V. Kandula and Otterer's recorded making light of her death?
I was deeply embarrassed that it happened in Seattle because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this shit happened in Seattle, right? And utterly disgusted. How can somebody make those comments about a human life like that?
We can feel at peace that, there was some actions taken for the inhumanity.
The Office of...
Did she say shit and the news station didn't bleep it out?
And Otterer's recorded making light of her death.
I was deeply embarrassed that it happened in Seattle because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this shit happened in Seattle, right? And utterly disgusted. How can somebody make those comments about a human life like that?
Yes, it was the union president.
At peace that, there was some actions taken for the inhumanity.
The Office of Police Accountability's director, Gino Betts, says SPD is who has the info on both Dave and Otterer's current employment status. But he did say the OPA finished their portion of the investigation into Officer Kevin Dave.
That investigation, administrative investigation, has been paused since May 11th of this year, and it's currently with the prosecutor's office for a final decision.
The investigation into Otterer, opening August 3rd, is still ongoing.
By ordinance, we get 180 days to investigate the case, which would bring our timeline to January 29th. I do not anticipate using all the time that we have available to us to complete that investigation.
People at Denny Way say they won't sit by and wait for answers anymore.
And we're going to keep banging at the door till somebody opens and answers it.
Brittany Toulis, Cairo 7 News.
Focusing on Israel and Palestine.
This also happened in Washington, apparently in Spokane. A body camera video depicts Spokane County Sheriff's Deputy Clay Hilton arresting Kevin Hinton, 62, at a Terrace View Park on August 14th. This was just released a couple of days ago. An error has occurred. Huh. Hold on, let me, It was wild. Apparently Kevin Hinton is a golfer. Tell me to add some content. Oh, damn. Here we go. This is the body camera footage. The arrest by Deputy Clay Hilton has a content warning on. Apparently, this is a violent arrest of a 62-year-old man who just pulled over to take a nap as he was driving.
Yeah, it'll be an audio and video recorded. It's a crime to be in the park after hours. This is considered a park. So,
All right, I'll go find another place to watch a movie.
All right, you got your ID on you real quick?
No, I don't.
You're not shutting the door. You're not free to leave.
Yeah, I am.
You're not.
Why are you acting like that?
Because you're kind of being rude. And not being...
I'm being rude? Yes. And how is that?
How is that? I'm trying to explain to you, you're in the park after hours and you're committing a crime.
That's a crime?
It is. Yes.
No, it's not.
You want to bet?
It's a civil offense.
It's not. Do you have your ID
Really?
with you?
No, I don't have my ID on me.
One, I'll take another.
You're not getting my ID for sitting in a parking lot now. Sorry.
Yeah.
So.
Whose car are you in?
Pardon me?
You're not shutting the door on me.
I'm not shutting the door. I'm rolling the window down. Now you can shut my door.
I am not shutting the door. I need your name. You are not free
I'm
to
not
leave.
giving you my name.
Okay.
Now, I do believe you have to identify yourself in all 50 states.
Those units code.
But other than that, he has committed no infraction. What fucking park can you not be in after hours?
And why is that, sir?
Why? Because you're refusing to tell me who you are, and you're probably going to end up going to jail.
Oh, for not giving you my name?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, then you have at it.
Okay. Go ahead and stand up for me. Turn around, face the car. Turn around, face the car.
Don't.
Boomer, do you not know what country you're in?
Listen.
You are going to get hurt. If
I
you don't
am?
listen to what I'm telling you.
Are you audio video recording this?
I already told you that. Get on the
Hey,
Get on the ground. You're under arrest.
Fuck, dude.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Jesus Christ. What part of that? I don't understand. I want him code 6. You're under arrest. Get on the ground.
Oh my god, he's punching him.
You fucker.
Yeah, he's a fucker.
Okay, come here. I can't. Oh, give me your hand. Okay. Give me your hand. Okay. Give me your hand. Why are you doing this, man?
Because he's a dick.
Look at the fucker what he did. I didn't do anything. I'm pulling this way. I'm pulling this way.
Once again, I point this out many times when we're watching these videos. The cop is committing a crime far, 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 far worse, far more egregious than what this man is accused of doing, which was sitting in a park.
On your stomach. Okay. You're on your stomach. Okay. Okay. I will. I promise. Get out. Okay. Okay. Ouch. Oh, guys, please. Please. What part of that did you not understand?
He should have shown his ID. Other than that, he was fine.
You hit me so many times. Why? Why did you hit me? Because you weren't listening. God.
Because you did not respect his authority.
Why? Now you want to tell me your name? Oh, my name is...
My God, look how bloody he is.
Oh, please. What did you think of me? Why? Why? I didn't do anything.
He literally didn't do anything.
Oh. Well, we got medics coming for you. I can't breathe. Can you please let me out? I can't. Relax, man. Let me double lock these. Stop. Can I sit up? Let's search him real quick. Can I sit up? Sir. What was that? Yeah, sit on your butt.
Protect and serve.
I didn't do it.
What's your name, dude?
Oh, my name's Kevin. Kevin. Oh, fuck. this really just happened?
The deputy is currently suspended.
I told you you're under arrest. I didn't do anything, sir. 7 of us started the job. Got him? He hasn't been searched yet.
Exactly. Protect his fragile ego.
What's that?
By serving up some fascism.
I don't know. Make sure and take a picture of that sign right there.
If a cop asks for your ID, you are required to show it in almost all situations. I think there are some areas where you have to be actually accused of a crime. If you're in a vehicle, you have to show your ID. If you're just walking down the street and you haven't committed a crime, I don't believe you have to identify yourself to the cops. He should have shown his ID. But still, like, there was no reason for that response. Why have they cut the audio from this? Yeah, Boomer White Guy never believed that this would happen to him. We lost audio somehow. They've cut the audio out of it. I don't know what they were talking about. Why is there so much of this audio missing? Exactly. Cops are incriminating themselves, almost certainly. More than they already have. I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least 5 of them because there was a woman walking around. At least 5 officers there. That's your tax dollars. Think about how much they are paying these 5 pigs. Up 6, 7. At least 7 of them there now. It's just before midnight. No, just after midnight. Or nope, sorry. Just before midnight. He was sitting in a park after hours. Apparently the park is closed after 8 or 9. Well, technically what they're going to say is that after he was detained for not complying with orders, that they had the right to search his car. To me, I feel like the 14th Amendment protects you against, I mean, not the 14th, the 4th, protects you against this bullshit. But we all live in a fascist nation. Quote System of a Down. So we're moving on from cops, but we are still doing some horrific stories. So my apologies for this. The next couple of stories deal with rape. So, and I'm probably not going to make it much further past those. So, if you do not want to be here for these stories, we'll see you tomorrow, possibly for Congress during the day. I think it should have been just a fine, Dustin. That's what he was saying, that it was a civil infraction, not a criminal offense. A man 1,600 miles away was watching a Key West webcam, and here's what he fucking saw. People locked up for pot longer than 10 years. This one also horrific. A Houston area pastor has been accused of raping a family member since she was 7 and even impregnated her.
A local pastor now facing continuous sexual assault of a child. According to official documents, Robert L. Carter repeatedly...
Purgatorus, you are correct. And if it hadn't been on video, my God, I would venture to say he would have never been brought to justice.
Raped a young family member, even impregnating her.
Tonight, her father is speaking only to our Devin Clark, who is live outside of HPD headquarters with further details. Devin.
I gotta tell you, this warrant states that the rapes started when this girl was just 7 years old and lasted well into her late teens, happening at least 600 times with a felony charge now filed. The alleged victim's father is speaking out, but we do want to warn you.
600 times!
Extremely disturbing.
She had been around this monster since she was about 6 years old.
This man asked not to be identified as to protect his daughter's identity. That isn't stopping him from speaking out about this man, 39-year-old Robert L. Carter, who he says was a family member to his daughter.
So he's always been big to her, you know, and I had realized that she'd been fearful.
The man whose profile on the Black Preachers Network website has him listed as a bishop and senior pastor is now an accused rapist.
I don't understand, you know, how you can...
Good evening.
Walk around preaching the word and living, you know, alive.
According to Carter's arrest warrant filed last month, the abuse began back in 2008 when the victim was 7 years old. It states he would go in her room and make her perform a sex act on him on a nightly basis.
How? Like, how could you even get aroused? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
The warrant states the abuse got worse over the years and that it would happen in multiple locations, including their home when everyone was asleep, Carter's grandmother's home, and behind an HEB in the parking lot before dropping the victim off at school. The document also states that Carter would bring the victim here to the Greater Bible Way Church in Sunnyside, where he had an office, and rape her.
She's had an episode where she ended up in the hospital, you know, for psychiatric reasons.
The warrant states she secretly had Carter's baby.
What if she would have died that night? She had the baby in the closet by herself. And he came and got the baby and took the baby to a fire station and dropped the baby off.
My God!
We went to Carter's address listed on the warrant, but no one seemed to be home, so we called him.
The person you are calling is not available. Record your message at the tone.
No answer.
Wait. How is this man not behind bars? Now! He should be arrested immediately.
While the warrant has been filed, we understand that Carter has not been taken into custody at this time. As for the baby mentioned in the story, the father you heard from says his daughter is in the process of trying to get the child back. Reporting live outside of HPD headquarters tonight, Devin Clark, KPRC 2 News.
Fuck. Yeah, Dustin, I don't want to victim blame. But that was something that went through my mind, was how did the family not notice? But like, motherfucker could be terrorizing her. You know, if you go to your family, if you let them find out, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. I'm saying that she might have been going to great lengths to keep it from them because of threats from him and yada yada yada. Yeah, the whole family was victimized by this monster. Fuck. Gosh. I'm gonna try to get a let me see if I can get a more up to date. Apparently this manhunt is still underway in Vermont. This is from a day ago on ABC News. The manhunt got underway about 4 days ago after a college dean was shot and killed. A lot of details in this ABC story, though.
Police in Vermont are on the hunt for a suspect. They describe him as armed and dangerous. He's suspected in the shooting death of a beloved former Vermont State University professor, 77-year-old Honoree Fleming, who was found shot in the head. The medical examiner has ruled the death a homicide. Now,
that was ABC News from like a day ago. So apparently the manhunt is still underway, but this is a more in-depth. Yes, we did that not that long ago. A few weeks ago, we did a good news show. Yeah, let's do that again here soon, Snicks. I agree.
State police have identified the victim of a homicide that happened on the D&H Trail in Castleton. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kiana Burks. Police say the deceased was 77-year-old Honoree Fleming. Fleming was a retired dean of education at the Castleton College campus. Police found her dead on the trail at around 4:30 Thursday afternoon. An autopsy determined her cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head. Witnesses tell police they heard gunshots and saw a possible suspect leaving the area, walking towards the school. The search for that suspect continues on tonight. They've been described as a white male, approximately 5 foot 10 inches tall, with short, dark-colored hair. Last seen wearing a dark gray T-shirt and carrying a black backpack. In a press conference Friday, police asked residents to come forward with information, saying they didn't have many leads. As the investigation continues, officers are reminding residents to remain vigilant, as the suspect is considered armed and dangerous.
Lock your door. Yeah, as of 3 hours ago, CNN posted a story saying the police are still on the hunt for the killer.
Lock your cars. Don't leave your keys in your car. Don't wander around at night. Wander in pairs. If you're going to be out, be with a friend. We have no idea where this gentleman suspect took off. We don't have anything right now.
Police are asking the public and businesses in the area to check any surveillance or trail cameras they might have in hopes of leading them to the suspect. The section of the rail trail that had been closed for the investigation is now reopened. In a press release from Vermont State University officials, Honoree was described as a, quote, beloved dean and professor at Castleton.
Joey, good evening.
Impressive researcher with countless papers published. Faculty, staff, and students alike loved her. They say Honore was a true member of the Castleton family.
That's the second time that video is autoplayed. They really want us to watch that. I don't even know what it's about. Hide your wife, hide your kids. They raping everybody out here. And that is actually a clip from a news station I used to work for. That happened in Huntsville, Alabama. That guy's from Huntsville, Alabama. And I used to work for the news station that did that news hit. Hide your kids, hide your wife. They're raping everybody out here. I flipped out when they told me that. Because I had seen it on Tosh.0 or something like that. Vermont police have updated their description. The suspect is now described as a white male with short red hair. Earlier in the investigation, they said dark hair. He appears to be in his late 20s, about 5'10", wearing a dark gray shirt and carrying a black backpack. He was headed north along the Delaware and Hudson Rail Trail toward Vermont State University. It was Honore Fleming with her husband Ron Powers. She was the victim of the shooting. Apparently that airplane is super important. You guys want to go back and... Let's see if it autoplays again, and we'll watch it.
Honore was a true member of the Castleton family.
Hop on right in.
Uziel Salinas, or Uzi for short,
My goal is
Bill and Uzi
is new to the skies.
trying to get my license certificates out of the way and to keep on going.
Guys, I've never told you this, but I have my pilot's license. License to pilot in that ass. Ah ha ha ha.
Life is too short to walk this earth or a crusty asshole. Wash your ass.
That feel I get.
I'm scared of heights, so no.
It's thrilling to me.
But the 26-year-old, who just got his pilot's license in May with Aviator Air Flight School in Grand Prairie,
I was just going for a joyride, building hours with a friend.
got this unexpected thrill on Monday. A crash landing.
I know there's a risk anytime I go up flying.
All sparked by a possible mechanical failure.
I realized that I was not going to be able to make it, so I declared an emergency.
Uzi, above Arlington at the time.
Not feeling so oozy anymore.
But traffic, residential buildings, and that definitely did scare me, did make me worry. I had to find the best place to land, and I had to do it with minimal damage and without hurting anyone on the ground. That was my focus at that moment.
He chose an empty lot next to a warehouse, shooting for a chain link fence, and it proved to be a good choice.
I was hoping for that fence to catch us, to decrease our airspeed.
The plane coming to a screeching halt. No injuries.
And I grabbed his hand, he grabbed
Good
mine,
thinking.
and we were just thankful to be alive.
Uzi crediting his training at Aviator Air.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The company owns the plane he was in. Have you been back up in the air since the crash?
Oh yes, yes, I have.
Pretty dedicated. This moment not stopping Uzi's quest to become an airline pilot someday.
Boy, they're big animals.
A surprising and somewhat delightful sight Wednesday in a Port Washington subdivision, drawing neighbors outside.
Well, shit, they even auto-played a animal video for me.
We were in our backyard when the cows came stampeding down the hill, and they were moving because there's a pretty good
Moving.
drop there. And, it was like the bulls at Pamplona or something like that.
Dozens of cows.
Yeah, we watched that the other day, and the bull gored somebody.
We're down at the end. They just kept going around one house, and so we were trying to just get them to stop going around the house.
Danielle Santos jumped in to help, even though she's never worked with cows before.
We would get the cows going one way, and then all of a
They're
sudden,
ornery.
oh, whatever, we want to go this way. A third guy jumped in and helped, and then by the time he helped, we were able to keep them in the front here and herd them all the way down the street.
A day later, this quiet neighborhood has reverted to normal, and there's almost no sign they were ever here. Well, almost.
Some cow patties.
All over. And they were big droppings.
Well, the grass.
Well, here in a few weeks, you're going to have some what they call magic mushrooms.
This is down. That's where I had to hose off all the cow pies.
But Ken Kozak got the better part of the deal. His wife, Pat, well, we found the cows at a nearby farm Thursday where we learned they escaped when someone literally left the barn door open.
Is it sort of a Wisconsin cliche that people would be herding cows?
Herding cows randomly out of their neighborhood? It might be, but it's not as normal as you might think to find random.
Oh, really?
Even
they put antifungal in the feed now, and the cows don't grow magic mushrooms? Oh, what?
In Wisconsin.
Even in Wisconsin.
And after their brief adventure in the subdivision, the cows did indeed come home.
The cows came home.
Boy, they're big animals.
A surprising and
I love it. I love it.
Wednesday in a Port Washington subdivision, drawing neighbors outside.
You know, I was hungry. I was grilling out and I ran out of hamburger, Mark.
We were in our backyard.
I showed up at the opportune time.
Stampeding down the hill, and they were moving because there's a pretty good vertical drop there. And, it was like the bulls at Pamplona or something like that.
Dozens of cows all over the neighborhood.
At one point when we were down at the end, they just kept going around one house. And so we were trying to just get them to stop going.
Let me tell you guys, I came across this dude who grew gourmet mushrooms
We would get the
for restaurants, and holy shit, those were the best goddamn mushrooms I've ever had in my life. That dude knew what he was doing. Those were better than any acid I've ever had. Those were so fucking strong.
Quiet neighborhood has reverted to normal, and there's almost no sign.
Look like Kyle's mom. Well, Kyle's mom's a bitch. She's a big fat bitch. She's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world.
And they were big droppings.
Where all the grass is down, that's where I had to hose off all the cow pies.
But Ken Kozak got the better part of the deal. His wife, Pat, well, we found the cows at a nearby farm Thursday where we learned they escaped when someone...
I'm amazed I was able to make it through everything. I didn't get to like Pink Floyd and Roger Waters being an anti-Semite. That's all bullshit.
It might be.
Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol. Live.
Brief adventure